Hey there, so glad you're here. This is Reddit Stories Podcast. Relax, you're safe here. Here's our first story. Karen demands I stop mowing my lawn because her baby is sleeping. I, 30 male, live in one of those neighborhoods filled with neat sidewalks, green lawns, and homeowners who display gnome statues like they're judging you. I rented my house last summer and I love it. Even though the grass doesn't mow itself, and I'm guilty of letting the lawn maker wait until the dandelions throw a riot. One Saturday, I decided enough was enough, and I decided to get rid of the jungle out front. It was a bright, breezy morning. I fired up the old mower, tunes playing softly through my Bluetooth speaker, and I set to the task like a regular guy trying to keep his street respectable. I was mid-lawn when suddenly I hear shouting, first faint, then building into full-on screaming. I look up to see Karen next door charging down her driveway with a baby monitor in her hand. Her shirt was one of those bright colors that seemed to vibrate, and sweat drops were forming on her forehead like war paint. She planted herself 2 feet from the mower's path and yelled, "Stop that noise this instant!" Confused, I stopped the engine. "Is everything okay?" I asked. My hands had a faint lawnmower scent of gasoline and grass. She looked furious. She gripped the monitor and her face was bright red. "I'm telling you, my baby is napping and you're waking her up. The noise is unacceptable." She stared at me. "Stop mowing while my child sleeps." Not wanting to escalate, I offered, "Sure, I can wait a few minutes. Want me to come back in an hour?" "No," she said, voice trembling. "I want you to stop now. Permanently." "Permanently?" I said. "Sorry, but I'm the one paying for this lawn, and mowing it now doesn't affect your kid's sleep more than ambient street hum does." She let out a strangled, "You have no empathy." I said calmly, "I respect that you're concerned, but this is normal maintenance and it's legal." She glared and went inside, screaming about taking it to the HOA. That afternoon, I noticed posts on our neighborhood chat. "This guy is mowing. Are you trying to traumatize babies? Maybe use a quieter mower. You're lucky it's not 8 p.m. It turned into a miniature drama. Next morning, I wake up to a note stuck to my door. "Stop mowing, period." Signed, Karen. I crumpled it mentally, set off the mower at exactly 9 a.m., and the minute it fired up, she stomped out again with the baby monitor in the lobby and a hand on her hip. She said, "Do you even hear how loud that is?" I looked at her, then over at the machine. It's about 85 decibels, perfectly normal. But again, I'm mowing in the morning on a Saturday. That's normal too. She spat back. "There's a law for noise ordinances. You're breaking it." Now I felt cornered. I went inside, pulled out the city noise ordinance, and looked. Lawnmower equipment up to 75 decibels is okay before 10 a.m., and at 9 a.m. on legal mowing days, this is legal across the board. I get back outside, paperwork in hand. I showed it to her. "This is legal. I could even mow until noon if I wanted." She turns white as a sheet. She mumbled, "This isn't about legality. It's about peace." Then she aimed her baby monitor like a missile and demanded I find a quieter alternative. I offered, "I'll switch to hand mowing just for you." She glared and stomped inside. Word spread fast. The group chat blew up with commentary. Some neighbors said I was right. Others whispered that I was escalating a careless Saturday into a conflict zone. Later that day, as I was watering the lawn, I saw the HOA rep across his driveway waving at me. I braced. He said, "Just wanted to make sure you know you're in the clear. Tried to pass by and saw you reading the ordinance. Heard about the note too." He winked. Karen is way out of line. Still, the tension lingered. I avoided making noise in the early morning. After a few days, I finally switched to my push mower. Slower, quieter, and kept mowing between 9 and 9:30. One afternoon, neighbors were chatting over the fence, and Kim said, "You know, Karen actually has no baby. She just uses it as a weapon." Suspicion started murmuring. Some saw her walking the baby monitor around when there was never a kid in sight. A week later, she held her monitor next to my house, but no baby noise came out. I walked over with scientific curiosity and her neighbor who lives across told me, "She's just stealing attention. I've lived next door for 6 years and there's never been a baby." At that point, I couldn't help but laugh. So I took a video of the monitor showing no signal and posted it in the chat with the caption, "Turns out the monitor is for her drama, not a nap." It went viral in the neighborhood. People shared gifs of babies sleeping through traffic. Someone even printed t-shirts saying, "Channel Karen," with a picture of a monitor. Karen texted the HOA claiming harassment. HOA replied, CCing me. "Municipal law allows lawn care during legal hours. No harassment here. Please stop weaponizing this." That was the final blow. Now she avoids my yard when I'm mowing. I still keep my lawn schedule, but I clip early, before phone drama. The neighborhood learned a little about noise rules and about minding one's own business. Would be wild if she ever pops up with a baby monitor again, but until then, I'll keep mowing in peace. You're mowing your lawn, not revving a motorcycle at midnight. If Karen wants complete silence in a neighborhood during the day, she should try renting a cabin in the woods, not policing your yard work like it's some personal offense. People have lives and responsibilities, and cutting the grass is about as basic as it gets. Her entitlement is the real noise here. Demanding her neighbor stop mowing the lawn because her baby is sleeping? That's like asking the sun not to rise because you're hungover. "Excuse me, but the grass can wait. My precious little angel is napping, and OP is out here committing photosynthesis crimes." If your baby is that light of a sleeper, maybe it's time to invest in a white noise machine instead of trying to micromanage nature. Or maybe people should just stop existing while I'm trying to raise my baby. Oh, you're gonna love phase 2 of parenting. It's called Lawnmower Junior, Toddler Edition. Good luck with that. Flatmate turned landlord kept threatening to make me move out, so I moved out without telling him. This goes back a long way to around 2004. I had left home at 18 to start university in 2001. During that first year in student halls, I made a close friend named Donald. He was easygoing back then, and we ended up hanging out a lot. When the year was over, we decided to move out of halls together. We found a 4-bedroom house with 2 other friends, and for a while, it was a good setup. After the lease ended, things changed. Donald had quit university and started working full-time at a bank. He was making decent money, and with that confidence, he decided to buy his own place. When he closed on the flat, he asked me if I wanted to rent the spare room. At that point, we had been friends for 3 years, and it seemed like a natural step. In the beginning, it was fine, but that didn't last long. Donald started becoming antisocial and downright unpleasant. He would throw snide remarks at people, and when called out, he brushed it off with, "It's a joke." Our mutual friends stopped visiting because he made them feel unwelcome. He started shutting himself away, except for when his aunt showed up, which seemed to be nearly every other day. She was loud, bossy, and acted like she owned the place. A few months into living there, Donald announced he was getting satellite TV installed. Then he told me I would have to pay for half. I was juggling university full-time and a part-time retail job, just barely being able to cover my bills. I told him I couldn't afford it. His response was, "Then you don't get a say on what I watch on my TV." He said it with this smug little grin that made me want to pack my things right then and there. From that point, things spiraled. He started getting lazier around the flat. Chores somehow always ended up being my responsibility. If there were dishes in the sink, it was suddenly my turn. If the bins weren't taken out, apparently I was supposed to do it. Anytime I tried to call him out, he would lose his temper and shout. His favorite line became, "My house, my rules. Maybe we should rethink you living here if you can't handle it." The logic was absurd. He acted like working at a bank gave him some kind of royal authority, while I was only at university. Never mind that I was working 4 days a week at my shop job on top of 3 full 9-to-5 days at uni. I was working just as hard, if not harder than him. That phrase, "my house, my rules," started coming up in every argument. It didn't matter if it was about chores, noise, or even how long I spent in the shower. The threat was always there. Move out if you don't like it. So I stopped bothering to engage. I spent more and more time locked in my room, keeping interactions polite but minimal. Then one of my friends mentioned that someone they knew was looking for a new flatmate. I went to see the place, met the people living there, and instantly felt relief. It was like night and day compared to Donald's flat. I decided right there that I would move. I didn't bother telling Donald. Why would I? For months, he had been dangling the idea of me moving out like some kind of punishment. Fine. He wanted me gone, I would leave, but on my terms. My parents knew what was going on, and they offered to help me pack and move. 2 weeks later, it was moving day. I had booked time off work and arranged everything. Early on Saturday morning, my parents showed up at the flat. Donald must have been surprised, because suddenly he was putting on this fake act, all smiles, acting like we were the best of friends. He even tried to charm my mom, saying things like, "Oh, I didn't know you were coming to visit." I looked him straight in the eye and said, "They're not visiting. They're here to help me move out. I've got a new flat. I decided I didn't want to live by your rules after all, so I found somewhere else, like you kept suggesting." His face just collapsed. He stood there staring, like he thought it was some kind of prank and someone was about to yell, "Gotcha!" When he realized no one was joking, he slunk off to his bedroom and stayed there the rest of the time. My parents and I moved quickly. 2 car trips was all it took to get my things out. In less than an hour, I was completely gone. I didn't even bother saying goodbye. I just left my keys on the coffee table and walked out. A few hours later, after settling into my new place, I got a text from Donald. It read, "I'm really sorry for the way I behaved. I hope we can still be friends." I laughed and sent back one reply. Ha. I never heard from him again. The best part? My new flatmate became one of my best friends. We're still close 20 years later. Donald, on the other hand, couldn't keep up with the mortgage without me. Nobody wanted to move in with him, since word had spread about how he treated me. He ended up having to sell the flat, quit his job, and move back in with his mom. The most satisfying moment, though, was still that look on his face when I told him I was moving out. All those months of "my house, my rules" flipped on him in an instant. He had no power anymore, and he knew it. Donald, if by some chance you're reading this, you sucked as a friend. You were a terrible landlord, and your aunt was just as unbearable. This is the natural consequence of being a bad landlord when you're dependent on your tenant. The upside for you is that you found a friend for life, and Donald got what he deserved. I bet the look of shock on his face and the pathetic "can we still be friends" text were satisfying. Good job. Had a similar experience myself. Landlord had an awful wife who kept telling me that if I didn't like things in the house, I should move out. One day, he was in the room when she said it. He pulled her aside and told her I was paying the mortgage. Didn't regret moving out when I did. So let me get this straight. Donald kept saying, "my house, my rules," and OP actually followed the rule? Yeah, except the rule was, move out if you don't like it. And OP didn't just move out, they did it in stealth mode. Exactly. One minute he had a tenant, the next minute he had his mum back. That's not karma, that's house flipping, family edition. And the profit margin was 0. Ma'am, I'm sorry to inform you, but your company is a train wreck. This was one of my overnight shifts, 12 hours from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. We were completely sold out. No rooms left. I had 12 check-ins expected by 7, and most of the rooms left were accessible rooms. The business travelers coming in weren't thrilled about having a grab bar next to the toilet, so tensions were already high. First up was Carol, a woman in her 70s with a wig that looked like it was about to get up and leave without her. She told me she had a room. I checked the system, nothing. She handed me her ID and gave me the stare, but still nothing was showing. I asked for a confirmation email, and that's when the light bulb went off for her. She said her reservation was for yesterday. Apparently, a staff member had told her they'd hold it since she'd be arriving today. Sure enough, her reservation had been processed as a no-show because she never checked in. The note said she would arrive around 3 a.m., but she didn't. By policy, our system automatically cancels those reservations. Carol was not happy. She snapped at me about being incompetent, went through the whole "How dare you give away my room" speech, then stormed out saying she'd call corporate. I logged the incident and carried on. About 15 minutes later, a new challenger appeared, Linda. She was in her 40s, had enough baggage for a small island nation, and looked ready to fight. Same issue. Her name wasn't in the system. I asked for a confirmation email, and she shoved her phone at me. Turns out, she was booked at the hotel across the 6-lane street. We're Hotel A, and she needed Hotel B. She demanded to know why her manager had given her our address. I pointed out her confirmation email clearly had the correct address for Hotel B, so it must have been a mistake. She insisted I call the other hotel and transfer her reservation over. I explained that's not possible, and besides, we were sold out. She then demanded to know how she was supposed to get across the street since she had taken an Uber. I offered walking directions. She exploded. Was I seriously telling her to carry all our bags across the street? I suggested another Uber. She demanded that I pay for it. When I refused, she announced she'd just use one of our luggage carts to haul her things. I told her if she removed hotel property, I'd have to call the police. She argued for a moment, then finally left with her bags and my manager's card. I noted the encounter in my log and went to the office for a breather. An hour later came Barbara. She was middle-aged, and unlike the first two, her reservation was actually in our system. I thought things might finally be turning around. I went to charge the company card on file, which had been virtually sent and pre-approved by my general manager. Declined. I tried again. Declined. I explained the situation to Barbara and offered options. We could try authorizing for one night at a smaller amount, or she could provide a different card while we waited for management to confirm things in the morning. She gave me the stare, then showed me an email stating the room was held with the company card. I told her that meant it was guaranteed, not prepaid. We had authorization to charge the card, but it was declining. She insisted I was doing it wrong. She leaned in close and told me they were a multi-million-dollar company, so there was plenty of money on that card. I told her that may be the case, but I still couldn't check her in without a card successfully authorizing. At that point, she camped out on the lobby sofa and said she was calling her boss. That's when it all came together. Carol was her boss, Linda was her coworker, and apparently there were 2 other colleagues somewhere in town that nobody could find. Barbara FaceTimed with her team, and the way they carried on, you'd think they were reporting me all the way up to the President of the United States. I tried reaching my manager, but nobody was answering. I had no clearance to just hand over keys without payment. Eventually, Barbara came back, took all of my information and my manager's information, and then finally gave me her husband's card. She spent a few minutes chewing me out, saying I was an idiot who shouldn't be unsupervised and that their company was shocked anyone stayed at our property. I calmly told her she could either go up to her room and follow up with property management in the morning, or she could be removed from the property that night. She chose the first option, and I never saw her again. I finished my shift in peace. The next day, I told my GM I'd no longer be covering day shifts until our slow season. After that night, I'd had enough. Edit for clarification. Carol had a 3-night third-party reservation starting on day 1. She called that night and said she'd be there around 3 a.m., which technically still counts as day 1. My coworker confirmed she said early in the morning. She didn't show. Audit ran, and the system processed her as a no-show. When she turned up at 7 p.m. the following day, it was 16 hours past her stated arrival. Policy requires showing up on the day your reservation starts or adjusting the dates, or else it's marked as a no-show. With third-party bookings, the property still gets paid, and we cannot check in those reservations without the guest physically present. Don't put up with people insulting you. You can say something like, "Ma'am, if you continue to be rude and insulting, I'll be happy to cancel your reservation and contact the police to escort you off the property." Then make sure to document everything for management. Forget them. Some guests just aren't worth the stress. I worked at a hotel all through college near a business park. The most entitled guests ever. As I got more comfortable, and once I knew my GM had my back, my favorite go-to line for difficult guests was, "Sir or ma'am, there are only two people here right now who care about your accommodations. One of them is losing interest really fast. How do you want to continue this conversation?"
Wow, I love that. Only two people care about your accommodations, and one is losing interest.
Yeah, that's called customer service with a timer.
Who doesn't love a good countdown clock?
Exactly. You've got 10 seconds before the care expires.
Ding. Sorry, sir. You've just run out of customer support credits.
Please try again. Never. Am I the jerk for refusing to rescue my 38-year-old husband after he missed his international flight? My husband, 38 male, and I, 39 female, have been married long enough that I know his habits inside and out. One of those habits is his eternal belief that he has more time than he really does. He's always late, always cutting it close, and always shocked when things don't go his way. So when it came time to book his flight home from a family reunion, I handled everything. I used our household money to buy the ticket. I checked him in, and I told him repeatedly, do not cut it close. This was a basic economy ticket, non-refundable, non-changeable. I made that clear because he had already tried once to get me to move the date from September 3rd to September 8th. I said no, we don't have the extra funds right now, and I wasn't going to pay extra for his convenience. And what happened? Exactly what I knew would. He stayed at his mom's house until the absolute last minute, like he always does. Then he left too late. He showed up at the airport at 6:44 a.m. for a 7 a.m. international flight. By then, the bag cutoff had been closed for almost 40 minutes. The flight was gone before he even reached the counter. My phone started blowing up. 7 calls in a row before I even answered. When I finally picked up, he said, "Babe, I need you to get me another ticket." I said, "You need who?" "Not me." I reminded him that I had warned him, and I told him I wasn't bailing him out. He tried, "I've never missed a flight before," and I hung up. This isn't even new. Since this whole reunion was planned, it's like the universe was sending him red flags. He couldn't rent a car because of his driving record. When I tried to add him to my insurance, we discovered his license was revoked. If I added him, our insurance would have jumped from under $200 a month to nearly $800. Absolutely not. He accused me of not being a supportive wife because I wouldn't rent a car in my name and let him drive it. When that failed, he tried to get someone else to do it. That failed too. And this is the same man who nearly made me and our oldest child miss a flight not long ago. We couldn't check bags because he dragged his feet, and we had to sprint through the airport with carry-ons to make it to the gate. That wasn't fun, and it should have been a wake-up call for him, but clearly it wasn't. Meanwhile, let me paint the picture of our real life. We've got 4 kids, and we're in the middle of a huge transition. My husband is originally from overseas, and a couple years back, we decided to buy a house in his home country so we could eventually move there as a family. It's a fixer-upper, and every spare dollar is going into making it livable. At the same time, we had our house in the States. We sold it earlier this year, planning that the timing would line up with the overseas house being ready. But of course, renovations have been delayed. So now we're technically caught in between. We don't have our US house anymore, but the overseas house isn't finished either. We're relying on short-term rentals and Airbnbs until everything is ready. Funds are tight, and every purchase has to be carefully planned. So when he called me demanding I buy him another ticket, all I could think was, no, absolutely not. I've already paid once. I've already done the work of booking, checking in, and warning him. If he wanted to make it home, all he had to do was leave on time. Now he's stranded at his mom's. Our old house in the States is out of the picture because it's already sold, and the kids and I don't even head overseas until the end of November. So he can stay right there with the family he always defends and runs to. I know how this will play out with them. They'll spin it like I'm cold, like I'm not supportive, like I'm the bad guy. But from my perspective, I paid once, I warned him, and I'm done being his permanent safety net. The money wasted on that missed flight? That's just tuition for the lesson he signed himself up for. So now the question is, am I the jerk for refusing to rescue him? Or is he the one who failed by ignoring every warning sign and acting like he had all the time in the world? Edit. Right now, the kids and I are staying with my parents while we wait for the overseas house to be finished. My husband had flown ahead to his home country to try to prepare things there and get some of the renovations moving. The plan was that he'd come back in September, spend time with us, and then we'd all head over together once the house was ready. Instead, he ended up missing his flight because he wouldn't leave his mom's on time, and now he's stuck there with her until November. Not the jerk. Also, it might be better to divorce. I mean, you are literally parenting your husband, and that isn't marriage. You also don't seem like you actually like him, and I don't blame you. You really do have 5 children. Not the jerk. He's a grown man who got himself into that problem. You have zero obligation to get him out of it. I have a great amount of patience for things that are out of people's control, but this was 100% foreseeable. I would so be over his BS and enabling family.
So she's raising 4 kids while he's at home with mommy?
Yeah, he downgraded from husband to man-child real fast.
At this point, he's basically just another kid for her to worry about.
The difference is, this one comes with his own mom for daycare.
My ex-fiance's mom is furious about my Facebook post that has nothing to do with her. I'm 28, female. My ex-fiance, male 32, ended our relationship and canceled our wedding. He told me on Sunday and he left the following Wednesday while I was at work. Didn't even say goodbye to me. His parting words the night before were that he felt like we fought too much and didn't communicate well. Okay, this wasn't new to me, and while I knew he thought we fought a lot, I didn't realize he was ready to leave me. He left me to handle everything, settling all the wedding contracts, dealing with the honeymoon debt, being left without a car, and taking on all of the apartment expenses. I became overwhelmed with depression, but in an effort to take some control back, I posted on Facebook asking for help. I needed a couple to take our wedding date since the venue was withholding our total rental amount. I mentioned that I was heartbroken, needed help finding a couple, and included how to contact the venue. Well, after over 200 shares and hundreds of comments, my ex's mom stepped in. She saw people commenting that I was better off, should sue him, etc., and then a week after she helped him move out, she finally texted me. She said,
OP, I know you're upset and your feelings are hurt, but there are 2 sides to this story. I don't appreciate these posts where you or others are slandering my son without knowing the whole story and putting his name out there. There are laws for slander and defamation of character. He helped pay for this wedding too, not just you. Heck, we even helped pay for the wedding stuff. This is something you and he need to work out, but if this continues, I will defend my son. Please be more respectful.
My reply was, this is between me and my ex. I understand you're feeling protective, but this is none of your business. Please keep your opinions to yourself. He's welcome to call me. Her response,
Wow, thank you for showing your true colors. I'm grateful he isn't marrying you, and he deserves so much better.
I replied, okay. Her message felt like she was rubbing salt into the deepest wound I had. I know I've been unreasonable at times in our relationship, never crossing lines like cheating, lying, or gambling, but I have been mean and controlling. Now I'm wondering if, in this conversation, I crossed a boundary. I know her son means the most to her. It feels like we're missing information. What did you actually write in the post? It doesn't matter what she wrote. She admits she was mean and controlling. Also, it's clear from the mother's response, her post was made out like she paid all of this money and he just up and dumped her. She also allowed him to be named in full. All of those things are taking it too far. I'm ready to get downvoted for saying this, but something doesn't seem right. OP admits her and her fiancé have been fighting a lot, does not give details about these fights, what they're about, or who started them. OP admits to being mean and controlling, but doesn't explain what this entails. OP chose to make a public post, which means that this is no longer a private matter. I'd like to know what OP actually said in the post. It's clear she included the full name of her ex, which was unnecessary, and this makes me wonder if she fully dragged him in the post. The fact that X left while OP was out and had no contact suggests to me that X was afraid. This is the advice we often recommend to others who are trying to escape relationships. We don't even know if X asked mother-in-law to reach out, but to me, it feels like another case of X being too scared to say something. OP, can you please give more details regarding the above? Am I the jerk for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after what she did to my fiancé? I'm 28 female. My sister, Ella, who's 31, is getting married in 2 weeks. We've always been close, even though we have our differences. I'm more of a laid-back, introverted person, while Ella is the life of the party and loves being the center of attention. It never really bothered me until now. I've been engaged to my fiancé, Mark, who's 29, for about a year. He's wonderful, kind, and supportive, and just an all-around great guy. My family has always liked him, or so I thought. But about a month ago, something happened that made me question everything. Ella asked Mark to meet her for coffee one day, saying she needed help picking out a wedding gift for me. I don't think much of it at the time, but when Mark came home, he was really quiet. After some coaxing, he finally told me what happened. Apparently, Ella spent the entire time trying to convince him that I wasn't right for him. She told him I was too boring, not ambitious enough, and that he could do better. She even went so far as to suggest that he should call off the engagement and see other people. Mark was completely blindsided and upset. He said he defended me, but it was clear Ella was relentless. I was furious when I found out. I confronted Ella and she didn't even deny it. She said she was just looking out for Mark and that she wanted the best for him. When I asked her why she thought it was her place to interfere in our relationship, she just shrugged and said that she was being honest. I told her that what she did was completely out of line and hurtful, not just to me, but to Mark as well. She didn't apologize. Instead, she doubled down, saying that if I was confident in my relationship, I wouldn't be so upset. I ended up leaving her house in tears. Since then, I've barely spoken to her. My parents found out about the situation, and while they think that what Ella did was wrong, they're begging me to still attend the wedding. They think that missing it would cause a huge rift in the family and that I should just let it go for the sake of peace. But I don't know if I can. Every time I think about what she did, it makes my blood boil. I feel betrayed and hurt, and I don't know if I can just pretend everything is fine on her big day. Mark supports whatever decision I make, but I can tell he's hurt by this too. So, am I the jerk for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after what she said to my fiancé? Not the jerk. People like her often bank on the fact that your reaction to their toxic behavior will be viewed as an overreaction, and they try to pin the blame on you. This is especially true in family dynamics, with this ridiculous belief that somehow being related by blood gives someone a free pass to act like a jerk. If she ever truly repents, then maybe there would be room for grace and forgiveness. But until then, I would consider her done to you.
That's all for now, but don't be blue. We'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Redder every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright. Now click this playlist, come follow along. We'll be right here. Until then, so long.